This very moment puts Friedrich Merz in an absolutely hopeless situation that he can no longer control. And the end is now sealed, and the clock is mercilessly ticking down. Take a look at this.
But is he the people's pick for Chancellor? Because 25% can now imagine the AfD providing the next Chancellor.
They can't imagine it. They want to have a Chancellor. And that is now the will of the people, which will completely destroy the CDU if they don't finally react in the next 48 hours and put an end to this disaster. What a disaster. I mean, how Lars Klingbeil once again had his hand deep in the till. We'll take another look at that in a moment. Just to clarify briefly, what do the numbers actually look like right now here in Germany?
According to this, 14% of those surveyed believe that the AfD is best at dealing with the problems in Germany. The CDU-CSU bloc comes next with 12%.
And we're trying it with a 5% party that's supposed to somehow save this country. 5% of Germans still believe that the SPD can achieve anything here in Germany. And because of that, well, let me sum it up with Ulrich Jürges, who will explain exactly what's going on with this chancellor right now and what the finance minister has done.
No chancellor has crashed as hard as this one. I think he's the worst chancellor of all time.
The situation is now so disastrous that where he was today at his party's economic conference, people just went to the lunch buffet when he started to speak. They just don't want to hear these corrupt lies anymore. They are tired of this person leading an entire nation by the nose. And as I said, what's your favorite choice for Chancellor? I'd be really interested to know. And if you would support this channel, I'd really appreciate a like and a subscription, and keep listening to him.
Once again, Lars Klingbeil, the SPD chairman, really dug deep into the coffers and took out 2 billion. The Chancellor was standing right next to him and just watched. He didn't stop him. He really should have done that.
Once again, Lars Klingbeil just ripped off the taxpayer for 2 billion. Why? Because he just wants to stay chancellor, and the power struggle in the CDU keeps growing. We're on the verge of imploding here. Merkel now wants to come back and turn things around. Lars is talking about wanting to leave the parliamentary group, and Jens Spahn is breathing down his neck so much because he now wants to replace him as chancellor. What we saw today in the Bundestag was a complete disaster by Bärbel Bas. I don't even want to play it for you here. She continued on this course today, further taxing the people, the working population, in order to really ruin this economy. Feel free to watch the federal government's question time. Some agenda items have already been dropped because they didn't want to embarrass themselves.
So they will continue. As a citizen and voter, I say this coalition must not happen again. It is a toxic project. It doesn't work.
The CDU itself, the grassroots that supports all of this, now talks about the cancer within their own party that is simply eating them up. Of course, they're talking about Friedrich Merz, who has nothing better to do than to completely ruin this party. And no, Mr. Jürges, I really have to strongly disagree with you there. They will not continue any longer. The only question left is, how do you manage the exit? And at the latest, after the elections in Saxony-Anhalt, then it's over for this government. And if the federal president doesn't prevent the elections, then we'll see that there really is no future left for the black-red coalition, and that you simply have to agree on an AfD-CDU arrangement after the minority government has failed. I would agree with that exactly as stated.
Poll numbers, the Chancellor is the most unpopular in Germany's history, and the coalition's poll numbers themselves are in free fall, and that could still come out of it.
Jens Spahn will approach the AfD out of purely tactical power preservation and will work out a minority government with them. Why? We already saw yesterday that they're setting the course for that. Jens Spahn, his career is above everything else. And really above everything that is sacred to him. He would even bring down even Friedrich Merz because of it. And that the CDU base stands behind him, we already saw that yesterday. 86%, apparently it was only the social wing that refused to follow him. And he already set that up quite well back then with the judge. He was supposedly the one who didn't care about it. And because he's as power hungry as he is, he'll drop this chancellor like a hot potato. I'm telling you, the moment it falls apart.
Didn't come true last year either. From a purely negotiation standpoint, he put himself in a situation where he's completely dependent on the SPD, so the ratio is no longer 28 to 16%, but 1 to 1.
And that's still a tough pill to swallow for the CDU members. He sold the CDU out to the SPD and is now struggling with the 20% threshold. Feel free to take another look at the polls. The CDU is in absolute freefall. With INSA, since there was no new developments, it has remained stable and gained 0.5%. And then came the disaster involving cancer. By the way, the church doesn't find this funny at all anymore and is making a big deal out of it. It's just a shame that the press doesn't make much more of it so that all of Germany hears about it. I already made a video about it for you, which was quickly restricted in terms of views. No one should make fun of people with cancer here in Germany. Some people have already done that. Some hate watchers noticed that and decided to back off, preferring to sweep the accusation of lying under the rug because that's just not acceptable. You don't pick on people with cancer.
I think that Friedrich Merz enjoyed having his position. He always wanted it, but he didn't live up to it.
He enjoyed it and at the same time not only destroyed two established parties, he governed them into the ground. At the same time, he completely destroyed this economy and drove it into the ground. And by now, only one escalation after another comes out of Friedrich Merz's mouth, which the press doesn't even pick up on anymore. Because they probably think maybe he's lost it or maybe he's developed a mental problem that could possibly be fixed at some point.
I think that when he talks about people who like taking it easy, he's actually a bit lazy himself.
No, above all, he was the hope for Germany that we would become a right-wing conservative country. And he deceived everyone, lied, cheated, and betrayed them, as we saw again today at the business conference, where even the business people turned away and just hoped that he would be gone soon. He deceived this country, drove it into the ground just for the sake of his own chancellorship. And I personally hope that someday he will have to answer for this and that he will be put on trial, where an independent judge will finally take care of what was done with the budget.